Hello everyone, this is going to be the video for Unit 2. I hope everything's going okay. Remember, if you ever have trouble with something, just please email me. And I'll be sending out some announcements later, and including if you wanted to have possibly a Zoom meeting where you could ask me questions. I'll send out an announcement about that. But here we are with Unit 2. As far as the overview, the overview this week, it's going to be on what is called cellular energetics. Now, this is a biochemistry subject. It can get really detailed. We're going to handle it very on the surface. We are going to talk a little in detail about the players involved, like what are the products of these chemical reactions, what are the reactants. And so these are our objectives, and then it says here what to do next, and then here's your assignments for this particular unit. There is a little bit of a reading if you want to. It's not very long right here on energetics. Here's our outline. I've actually made some videos for this outline. They'll be posted right above this. I'm going to see if I can't put them all under one tab just to make it look a little less busy. Last week was kind of crazy. And so this, to me, there was a lot of stuff in your first unit. I kind of want to make it a little more concise. Here are some PowerPoints for you to look at. But if you get a chance, and I'll be right above this, watch the videos. I go through the outline. I go through the PowerPoint. I go through every single part of this with you, including the terminology. On your discussion this week, you're going to have two. This is an online course. You're going to go through and talk about what are called the light-dependent reactions of photosynthesis. That involves light and water. Well, light-dependent meaning it depends on light to power the entire process. And then what are called the light-independent reaction, which is the Calvin cycle. The last video number 3, I talk about all this. And just, some good detailed answers. This being biology, these are kind of the discussions that you get. That's discussion 1. Discussion number 2 is this one. It has to do with the aerobic and anaerobic pathways. Once again, video number 2 kind of covers that. I go through every part of, and I do it very general. I'm not a biochemist either. Every class I took, you did talk about glycolysis, a little more detailed than what we're going to do, obviously. But if you'll watch this, I think it really does help. Yeah, differentiate between the two processes, including the reactants. Now, the reactants are what drive a reaction. Like to do glycolysis, you got to have a glucose molecule and you got to have ATP. Those are the reactants. What are the products? Pyruvic acid, NADH, 2 ATP molecules. And there's a few videos you can watch inside the lesson for this. Under what conditions may our own cells use anaerobic respiration? I kind of talk about that. Anaerobic is where your body's work output is higher than the power input. So your body switches to anaerobic respiration. I talk about all that. And describe an example where humans commercially utilize aerobic respiration. Well, beer and wine's one of those. But if you could look up some others, this is the part where if you'll do a little bit of research, this is the only one you really kind of have to research that. Didn't talk very much about that. I did talk a little bit about, beer and wine is made by a yeast. It's called Saccharomyces cerevisiae. Fermentation is the production of alcohol or ethanol when going through what's called anaerobic respiration. The experiment, click on that. Now look, watch this video here. And then here is your sheet that you're going to download. You're going to save it to your computer. And then you're going to do 3 experiments. And they're actually really cool. The first 2 are pretty quick. And the third one, it takes you about 5 minutes to set it up. And you do have to follow the instructions with this third one to the T. And in fact, when you do this one, and I was hoping maybe you got to activate this little flash player. Okay, just watch the video for this one. You have to go through and select, before you get to this, you have to select Missouri, which is where Park is located. But it's actually this
You are
experiment.
setting up a snail aquarium. Explore the lab to learn what is available for your investigation. You must click on each item in the checklist. Once you...
Your sheet here, this answer sheet has detailed instructions, and I did go through that a little bit in the video for this, but you have to follow the direction exactly. But it's an experiment with the Alodia plant and a snail. It's actually really cool, and it doesn't take very long to do. It has to do with light and dark and how that affects, you know, plant growth or cell respiration. And then, oops, went too far. The homework. Here's what you were supposed to do. You can do this however you want. Okay, well, what you're supposed to do, see, started with number 1. You can copy this whole thing to a Word document. And then if you want to, I don't care if you can highlight the correct answers. Some of these are in your lesson, but these are actually multiple choice. And then these last 2 here are 2 kind of, they're not essay, but just answer those. This is more of a thinking question about the rainforest and how much oxygen it produces, but we really don't have a massive amount of oxygen in the atmosphere compared to how much is being produced. It's because we use oxygen, but if you'll look at those, and your outline and videos go through all of this, and you do an experiment based on this one. And it's kind of just how to read a graph, but now I'll give you 5 points on your quiz this week. I gave 10 on the last one. This is a bonus. You don't have to do these. What I do is, you can do it in this frame, but I select this frame and open the frame in a new tab. That way it's full screen like this. These are questions. These are some great videos. So you can click on these and watch, or their animations.
Organisms live and grow.
There's about 5 in this lesson. They do a really good job of explaining everything. There are questions here, and the questions go all the way. Of course, these are the page numbers. And this ends with photosynthesis, but and there's a great little animation on that. Okay, there's 20 questions, and what I would do is do these first. I would probably look at the outline. I might watch the videos and do this next. This is basically your textbook, but it's a little more interactive. Okay, and then remember, and I'll try to start doing these as soon as I get them, but if you'll put your name in this blank and you email the score, I'll add it to your quiz grade. I'll add 5 points this week. I did 10 points for the one last week. And for some reason, you have to give me a couple of days, but if you send it in and I haven't added it, just send me an email. But I usually try to get these as they come in. Okay, that's what we're doing this week. And remember, email me if you have trouble, and I'll send out some announcements about this week.